everyone, welcome to Girls Chat. Today I'm joined by a new set of ladies, but for those people who don't know me, my name is Jojo. And because today's conversation is about motherhood, we're going to include that in our introductions. So, for example, my name is Jojo, and I am a mom to an almost 11-month-old called Nuru. And then anyone can pick it up from either side.
I'll start so that we can sort of like do a semicircle. My name is Martha. I am a mother to 5 children. I've got Ngatha, who's 17. Actually, I'll just say their names, their ages, which is 17, 15, 13, 11, and 5. So 3 boys and 2 girls.
Wow. Karibu.
My name is Chichi Sei, and I'm a mother to one daughter. Her name is Makena Chebaibai. She is almost 17, 16 and a half.
Nice. Thanks, Chichi.
I'm Kibali Tilas, and I am a mom to one Zaya, who's a boy. He is 1 year, 9 months tomorrow.
I'm Esther, mom to two amazing girls, aged 4 and turning 4, and the other one is turning 2.
Lovely. Thanks, ladies. So the brief that I got was chatting about motherhood and how that has intersected with your faith. And I think a soft place to start would be, how would you describe your motherhood journey in 2 words? Just two. So I can start because for sure I've had time to think about it. So my 2 words are beautifully stretching. And I think because, excuse me, we all know the beautiful side of motherhood, but then it tends to also be a bit stretching on you as a person, physically, on your skin. Like, but just those are my 2 words, beautifully stretching.
I'll go
Yeah.
next. I would say heavy and exciting.
Do you want to say heavily exciting?
No. Heavy, full stop. Exciting, full stop.
Yeah.
I think mine would be seasons and transition. Because I currently have teenagers and also little ones, and so my parenting is transitioning a lot. So seasons and transition.
Wow.
Mine has been a creative adventure. Yes, having a young person who's running everywhere, we've had to learn how to get energy and learn how to keep up with the energy.
Esther?
I think mine is exhaustingly rewarding.
Wow. You don't need to explain that one. No explanation needed there. And I think just the words we've chosen paint the 2 extremes that motherhood can be, right? Like it's on one end, it's so lovely. They're the cutest thing you've ever seen. And then on the other end, there are days you're like, oh my goodness. Can I do another day of this? And so what's a thing that shocked you about motherhood? And for those with multiple children, I guess the place to reflect is the first time you became a mom. What was the thing that was shocking and you didn't expect?
So you're talking about really like when they have been born, when they're young.
When they're little.
It could be that's when it happened. That's when the shock set in.
There are many shocks.
I know.
How much time do we have?
Especially us who have teenagers
I
right
know.
now. They
You're
can
like,
tell you
I
of the
have
shocks.
17 years of experience. Which shock do you want?
So we haven't seen it all.
Oh,
I know.
no.
I know. This
the
side, we're
beginning.
just in the... we're dipping our toes in the water.
Starting to get excited.
Maybe we should start with the people who are still dipping their toes in the water. What's the thing that shocked you?
No, now when you talk about shock, I think I'm going to change my words to a scary adventure. I think that's a better way to describe it. what has shocked me is how fast the child changes. Like you think you're finally starting to settle into something, especially like when he's okay. I'll keep using his because I have a son. First of all, I didn't know there's something like growth spurts. So you think you finally settled into the perfect routine, and then there's a growth spurt. So you're like, okay, so I have to all of a sudden try and change who I am, how things are. And then before you know it, I think it's how fast children change that has been a shocker, and it's also a bit scary, but also how fast they pick up on everything around them. So the environment, the people, conversations. Right now my son is in that place where he's repeating every word you say and every word that every other person says. So it's how fast, how much they absorb is a bit scary, but it's also a shocker.
Yeah.
Because 1 minute you'd be having a conversation, and then the next minute he repeats what you've said. You're like, okay, that was not supposed to be. So I think that's the shock a bit, how fast the kids are learning, and the many changes that are taking place, even when they're still little. That's a scary bit for me.
I think I think the scary thing for me every other time, and I'm still scared of it, is how fast they grow. I had a conversation with mother before when my oldest was very young, and she told me, "Oh, she's so small and cute. You will be so surprised at how fast they grow." And like I had it, but I didn't imagine it. Like I couldn't see it. And now when the second born came, I felt like I had missed out so much with the first one because I was consumed by taking care of the youngest. So sometimes I get like panic attacks because I'm like, oh my God, she's already turning 4. Oh my God, this other one is turning 2. It shocks me every day,
Yeah.
and I don't know how to handle it.
Yeah.
Because there are moments I wish I could have again and I can't have. And so I have to remind myself, let's enjoy now so that we
Yeah.
don't have to miss it later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what shocks me. You hear it, you're told, it's in your head, but
Yeah.
the moment you open your eyes and blink like this, they've grown. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Esther, just to encourage you, like, in as much as you're the one who's feeling like you're missing out, you're not having the best of that experience at that particular time, for the children, they are having the best time of their lives. And in as much as you're feeling like you're losing out, they are not missing a thing whatsoever. So that's not something that you should worry about. As long as you're there, you're with them, you're patient with them, you love them, they wouldn't know anything better.
Yeah.
Thank you, Martha.
I know. I hear you. I feel like I saw a reel that was creating those two perspectives. Like the tired mom, and she's going through her day, and she's so tired, she has to do the laundry here, and then the baby pooped, and then like she's just so tired. And then the perspective of the child's day, and they're just like, I was having such a lovely day. We, we had lunch, and then she was doing her laundry, and I was playing in the basket. So like, I know, and she would fold, and I would unfold, and it was so nice. Like I just had a lovely day, and then I was tired. She put me to bed, and so I see how, as a mom, you can feel like you're not doing the absolute best, but truly I see how the kids are like,
From
this
a
is
kid's
so lovely. Such a lovely day. Yeah.
That's encouraging.
Yeah, very encouraging.
Yeah.
The question
You
was
guys?
a shocking thing. Huh?
Yes.
The top one.
Okay. The
One
top
of the many
one of them,
shocking things.
I'm going to think of, or the one that comes to mind is when she was really little. The breastfeeding was so hard. That was a shock because I was prepared for the birth. I was prepared for the baby, and we had waited for this child for so long, and she came, and everything was, even if it was hard, there were no shocks. And then the breastfeeding. What? Nobody told me about that.
Yeah.
How difficult it can be, how painful it can be. And so that was a shocker. That's a shock. I remember my child as a little one. As an older one, it's just how she's just a woman. This child has become a woman.
Yeah.
It's a woman over here. Like, oh my goodness, it just transformed into women.
Yeah.
And so that is a shock for me when I look at her and I'm like, hey, Tena, she's juicy. She's beautiful. I'm like, where do we keep
The
she's just
dogs.
grown. Yeah. She's just grown overnight. How
Yeah.
did that happen? So those are the two shocks that come to mind.
Yeah. For me, having multiples of obviously had different shocks for different children. But I think when they were little, my shock was just you mentioned it, the absorption of words, of things that they observe with you, some of the big words they use when they're very, very little. And I'm like, and so you start spelling out your words because you don't want them to, try and pronounce it and everything. And that was really interesting. And then as teenagers, definitely the shocker has been, as you said, the transition from childhood to womanhood or to manhood, whereby they're shaving and they're like, Mom, have you seen my razors? I'm like,
Wow.
he has a razor. For shaving his beard. And those are things that you never expected to do. And like the other day I was walking with my son, Gatha, and he did like something that my husband would do. So we were walking together and he moved me away from the traffic. And
Oh, that's so lovely.
so just those small transitions from childhood to manhood, and you can see them growing in your eyes. And the other shocker was when they reach this stage is realizing that you're just a custodian. Like it has nothing to do with you anymore. You pray that whatever you have put into them, the principles that you have drilled into them will become part of who they are. But ultimately, they are their own people. My son at 17, he'll be in university probably next year. He'll be thinking of girlfriends and marriage. Like it will be a proper serious
Not next
relationship.
year.
In
Not
those
next
days. No,
year.
after. They're getting married when they're 35.
Wow.
But those are the kind of things that you have to start thinking about, because like when they go to uni, it's serious dating.
Yeah.
I mean, how many of your friends got married after university and were dating in university? You also dated in university.
I
Yeah,
did.
Esther is those friends.
yeah,
I dated in university.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's who you married?
That's why I
Yeah,
married.
exactly. So
Wow.
that's the reality that now I'm starting to think about, that even though they don't get married tomorrow, that the probability of them meeting their spouses is
Hi.
very high. Yeah, exactly. So
Wow.
yeah, those are my shockers right now.
We're not yet sure.
Talk to me in 2 years.
I know. I think what you're saying to us is that there's more shock on the way. We're not shocked yet. I think for me, the shocking bit, and of course, it will revolve around a youngin because I'm still with a really small baby. But I think in my head, I was just like, this is how people have given birth for centuries.
What were they thinking? Having
Nobody
more?
has come up with a better way. We've
a
built
C-section.
cars, we've built airplanes, we've gone to the moon. Nobody has
What
thought
about
about.
C-section?
That's what I went through. So I was just like,
Options, yeah.
oh my gosh, those are the two options.
Those are the two options. The
Somebody.
natural way or C-section?
This is why women need to go into STEM. I was like, sciences and technology for women.
Then we
Yeah.
grow our babies in.
I know. We
in
need to
some
find a
nice-
way.
But then I'll grow mine in some beautiful cocoon.
Yeah, but I think it's because I think that there's a way around multiple things: motherhood, marriage, dating, like information you're never told until you're in the thing, right? Things that you don't say to people who are not in that stage. Do you get what I mean? Like, unless someone is getting married, they'll never hear about the real difficulties of marriage. But now when you're engaged, people are like, now let me tell you, this and this will happen and you will need to X, Y, and Z. So I feel like the same thing happened with motherhood, where in as much as people told you this and this will happen, there are some things they leave out for you to find out for yourself. And as you find out, you're like, why did someone
I
not
think
tell
we
me
also
this?
forget.
Yeah.
I think we also forget. So that should be good news.
Okay.
That some of the things that maybe are shocking you, imagine we've forgotten.
with time?
It's like when you say it, I'm like, yeah, remember when.
Okay.
So there
okay.
are some things that are just forgotten. So It's all
Okay.
right.
I want to pick on something that Martha touched on, and that's seasons and transitions. What do you think is something that you found out about yourself once you started to transition into motherhood? A part of you that you never knew existed, if any. It's okay if there is no part of you that you found out about, but is there something that as you were becoming a mother, it unlocked a new part of you and you were like, wow, I didn't know that was a part of me that existed?
Maybe for me, I can start. I have just one on top of my head. It wasn't like I didn't know about it, but being a mom made it very clear. I am very introverted.
Wow.
I am super introverted. I gain energy by just being alone and being around people. Not you guys, not you guys. You
Okay,
guys are
okay,
great.
okay. Thanks.
Being around people really can drain me. So I think it's maybe being a mom. You know, sometimes introverts do like being alone because that's. But you can also feel lonely as an introvert.
Yes.
So the two things was I learned I do gain more energy, and especially because sometimes you can be home in your house with your child, and you're like, you're my child. I'm not supposed to be this drained by you.
Yeah.
But because of the energy levels that this child has, you constantly are trying to keep up with them as you go on with your day. And it can be extremely exhausting.
Yeah.
So then also the part about how motherhood can be very lonely. It can be a lonely experience that many people, it's one of those things you're saying that people don't talk about it
Yeah.
because maybe they don't see the need. It's not something that we're like, okay, guys, now you're talking about how lonely it is to be a mom. No, no one says it. But I think once you're a mom, especially once you're a new mom and people have seen the child the first maybe 3 weeks, they're like, oh, your child. Then people stop visiting. And then everybody else's life seems to go on.
Yes.
But then you're that person who's stuck with a child who does not talk, just cries the whole time. It can be super exhausting. And you can be very, very lonely even during such a time.
Yeah.
So I think I never thought I would. I never thought like I feel lonely,
Yeah.
even if I'm introverted. Like loneliness is never something. It's not. It's something that has never affected me. But being a new mom, there are times I was like, oh my goodness, I just want to be around people. I don't have to talk to anybody, but just
Yeah.
outside this space of being the only person this person is looking up to. So that's one of the things I was like, yeah.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons people don't talk about the loneliness is the fact that we also don't understand how we can be lonely when we have this person who we are taking care of.
Right?
Like, how can you possibly be lonely and you have this ball of energy that's taking up your everything?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we hear you. I hear you. Yeah.
And especially because you've been waiting. Been waiting for this person.
Yeah.
You've been praying for them.
Yeah.
You know, you're looking forward, and then they come. So they are very exciting moments. But
It's
then
true.
there are also moments where you're just like, what? Anybody else? Just take it.
Yes, because your life changes.
Yeah.
It changes so drastically that even though you've been waiting for the child, now when the child is here, you know, for me, I remember thinking, I'm somebody who does many things. I mean, many things, and I had a wide circle of friends. And of course, that all comes to an end. You know, it's coming to an end. In your mind, you know it'll come. It's even begun to come to an end. Maybe as the pregnancy progresses and you're almost at delivery dates and you've slowed down. But then here I am, and I'm like, I am the food. I am the food. I cannot go away from the baby because the food has gone away. And then the baby is going to die without the food. The baby I have prayed for so long, you know, and we've been waiting for so long. So you realize I am the food. I am the everything. The baby does not sleep unless it's in my arms or in the father's arms. And at that time, he kept on working and I was the one who stayed home. So that was very strange to know that somebody exists because of you. Okay, of course, it's God. The child exists. God is the one who, you know, has given the child life. But if I move away from this little thing, it has no life. I'm the food, I'm the everything, I'm the care, I'm the protection. So that was an interesting place to be in where somebody 100% depends on you.
Yeah.
Nobody else in my life has ever depended on me that way. Not my mother, not my partner, nobody else, you know, not a sister, not a friend, you know. But this child depended on me. So that was an interesting feeling. But what was the question again? tried to think, why am I saying all of this? There was a question somewhere there.
The question was, what's a part of you that you discovered after you became a mom?
So I've not even answered. Okay.
You've built onto what
Yeah,
Kibali was saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I discovered that I am extremely, I can be extremely protective. You know, I never knew this feeling of being protective. There was no threat to my child, physical threat, but in terms of, you know, is the child breathing? You know, is the child okay? Is that going to be safe for the child? Is that I was just so completely in a very protective mode, and if I thought anything would be danger, even now,
Yeah.
let me tell you the thing that will get me to bite someone's head off. I know I can kill. I did not know I could kill until I became a mother. And it's not
All
killing
the potential
for
killers are
yes,
showing
it's
themselves.
not killing for oh, you know. No, I know I can kill.
Literally.
I know I can literally kill. And it's not because of anyone else but my child. If someone would cross, not just, you know,
Yeah.
one of those horrible stories that we hear, I don't know how parents survive it, how mothers survive it, because I think I right now I know I would kill somebody who would do that to my child. So I don't know if we are supposed to be saying this on Christian
No. It's
programming.
the truth.
Yeah. But
I
that's
feel like
one
Jesus
thing
already
that I
knows
know
you're a
is
potential
in me.
killer.
Well, okay.
Yeah. It's like, I know that about Chichi. Yeah. I'd say for me, it was, I think I discovered that I am a researcher. Let me tell you, everything. I can research about everything. And so I think there was a time, in fact, my husband, Mike, was like, you need to stop schooling me. Because I was like, when she makes this sound, it means. And when she moves like this, it means. And when she's moving like this, it means she's walking up to crawl to. I've done the research. Because I don't want to be caught unawares. I don't want my child to be in distress, and because she can't talk, I don't understand what she needs. And so it's almost like my care converted into overdrive knowledge seeking. Overdrive. So I'm like, if she says, it's different from and this is what those two things mean. And so I had to pull myself back from arming myself with too much knowledge, because then I'm not leaving room for adventure. There's no room for adventure. I've put a tight hold on this child's life and experience.
But I
Yeah.
think it could be part of your coping mechanism.
I
because
mean, for
everyone
sure.
does try to.
For sure.
And has the research proved true? Like,
Oh,
whatever it
yes.
says, it's like, wow.
And that's the problem, because it motivates you to keep going, keep doing it, you know? And I think even that was a part that God had to talk to me about. Because he was like, you're not allowing me to show you what motherhood should look like for you. You know, you're running to Google. There's not even a moment of, God, what should I do? You're just like, Google, what should I do? And so I've had to learn to co-parent with God. Yeah.
I think for me, it's how it's changed me. It's made me realize that it's like I have three hearts. I don't know how to explain it. When I had the first one, I felt like I had two hearts. And then when I got the second one, I felt like I literally have three hearts that are beating. And they're like the one thing I asked God to protect, because the rest of us are adults. And now these ones are people I need to nurture and raise in God. And so it's made me so aware that life is just more than me. Yeah, I'm reminded every day, Esther, it's not just about you. Because I could do anything I wanted. I could go where I wanted. I could choose to go for a sleepover, come. Like, my time was my time.
Yeah.
And now I feel like you're not the only one who lives on this planet. You're now responsible for other people. So it's made me realize that, this life is not just about you. Yeah, so that's what I'm still learning. It's not just about me. Yeah.
As I'd said at the beginning, like I'm in a stage of transition right now. And I think one thing I'm discovering about myself is I'm not very good with transitions. I'm a very relaxed person, and that has translated into my parenting. And so when my kids were little, I've always been very, very relaxed about how they go through their life experience and everything. So my children are always full because they were playing in the dirt, they had crawled underneath, they had done, you know. So for me, it was all about the adventure, the experience, allowing them to be. But right now, I find that with, you know, with having teenagers, it's now me trying not to tell them what to do because I desperately want to, like, which is what you have when you have little kids. It's all about, you know, sweetie, do this, sweetie, do that. Actually, I don't think you should do that. There's a consequence to that. But now it's not me telling them what to do, but actually asking them, what should you do about that situation? And I'm like, I want to tell them what to do. And then you want to take out your moiko and say, this is how it needs to happen. But it can't go like that in this transition. And I'm finding, to be honest, I'm making more parenting mistakes right now than I did when they
Earlier
were
on.
little, you know. Because when they're little, there's the research, there's what people have told you. But now when they're teenagers, you're dealing with individuals, with individual personalities. So now my personality does not influence their personalities as much as it used to when they're younger. Now it's allowing them, if like one child is a researcher and prefers to research everything that they do, I can't tell them, no, that's not how it's done. You just chillax and it will be fine. You can't do that. It's instead encouraging them, yeah, okay, you research. That's fantastic. That's new. It's not me, but that's you.
Yeah.
But I'm discovering I'm not very good at that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how are you coping?
Not very well. Like I had the hugest fight with one of my kids last night, actually. And I thought I handled it very poorly. So this child, we'd had a fight and she was very angry with me. And then I started like, no, I should go sit with her. Let's hash it out until the end of it. But when I went to do that, she was like, no, I don't want to talk to you. Let's talk in the morning. And my brain cells were going crazy. Like, should I respect the let's talk in the morning, or should I dig in my feet and actually
Be the mom.
let's conclude this conversation? And I promise you, I didn't know what to do.
Wow.
I still don't know what to do.
What did you do?
Because I dug in my feet, which I think did more harm than good. So I went to her bedroom and I sat there and I was like, no, we will talk about this and we shall. And there's a lot of tension right now, and I know it's
Yeah.
because I dug my feet in, and I should have just allowed I don't want to talk to you, let's talk in the morning. And I was being talk to who?
Do you understand? Your time is my time.
You know, your time is
Yeah.
But now, I think one thing about being a Christian parent and the beauty of being a Christian parent is knowing we are flawed,
Yes.
and knowing that we have messed up because we've been so forgiven. We have been so forgiven. So we know that we are absolutely flawed and we shall mess up and we shall continue to mess up.
Yeah.
But just learn how to get to that place of asking for forgiveness. I'm not going to ask her for forgiveness. Anyway. But realizing maybe how you handled the situation was not the best way. Which we were both right, to be honest. You know,
Yeah.
we were both
There's no right and wrong there. It's
but
two
at the
different
same
ways,
time, it
yeah.
was just two different perspectives.
Yes.
And to respect the fact that she's a completely different individual who's not my personality, or, you know, shares half of my DNA and half of my husband's DNA. So she's not me at all. And so when she makes a request, to learn to respect that. Sorry, just give me a second.
Keyword learned.
Keyword learned, exactly. Exactly. So I think, man, parenting needs grace. It needs a lot of grace. And the seasons are when they're younger, it's a lot of physical work, it's a lot of exhaustion, it's really, really hard. Because your sole job is to keep them alive,
Yeah.
to make sure that they have no harm happening to them. And that's almost the easier side, because as they grow up, then it's just allowing them to be who they are,
Yeah.
which counters everything you taught them when they were little, because you were teaching them how to be what you want them to be. So I think, yeah, it's I'm learning. I'm learning.
Yeah.
And then, of course, boys and girls, very different.
Very different.
Very, very different. Yeah, yeah.
Like, I'll jump on that and ask. So, 2 more touch points and then we're done. So, touch point number 1 is partners, spouses, or family members. What ways have you found those people to be supportive? What has been supportive? What are things that your spouse, your partner, your family, because then there are people without, partners and spouses, your family, your community, what are things they've done that have made your motherhood journey easier? That if someone was listening, they're like, oh, this is something people could do to help me navigate this in an easier way.
When my kids were little, I had a friend who used to turn up, because I was a stay-at-home mom. Still, I'm more of a stay-at-home mom. And she would turn up, and she would take over. And she would just take the kids. At that time, when they've been crying and crying and crying, she'd walk them in the garden, and she'd be like, yeah, you do you. And when they were little, that was, oh my gosh, the most amazing thing that somebody could ever do. Where they would just turn up. And every once in a while, when I was going through a hard time, somebody just bringing me a meal, where I don't have to be the person who's cooking, because at that time I'm going insane. And then somebody just brings you a meal, and it doesn't even have to be something amazing. They bought Domino's pizza on the way to see you.
Yeah.
And now I understand why our parents were so big on shopping, that you visit them with shopping, right?
Yeah.
And it was those small things that now make so much sense for me, because there are times when we would completely lack, and you don't think you can lack when you have a big house, a car, but there are times when you do lack, and then somebody would turn up with, a meal, and that was just what you needed. And that was, amazing. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, for everyone who has friends who have kids, imagine just that support of having a meal, or just coming and handling the kids for a bit, and allowing the parents to just go away and do what they want to do. And even like babysitting at night, because you don't feel comfortable with, like, maybe your house help or whatever spending the night, or if you don't have somebody who spends the night, having somebody who says, actually, and just knowing that there's somebody who can drive, who's inside the house, makes such a huge difference, because if something happened, then they can drive my child to hospital, versus your housekeeper who doesn't know how to drive. So they will handle it the way they can by calling you. So
I 100% agree with Martha. I remember the time we got the firstborn, Mike and Jojo came to visit us with lots of chicken.
I have no recollection. I
Very
remember we came.
Yes, it was rosemary chicken stew. It was like a rosemary chicken curry. I've never forgotten. And we just stocked it in the fridge and we ate it slowly. And the thought, by that time we didn't have a nanny. And so it was just me and my husband trying to figure everything out. He was still working. And it's very easy to feel neglected by the very same person you had this baby with, because it has a bigger impact on you, given that you're the food. You're the food. The baby is relying on you for survival, and they don't know how else to come in, because they
Yeah.
also think you're the first person who knows this baby well. And I also think prayer. I think it's good for people to pray for young moms, because now with the second born, I ended up having postpartum depression. But because it had never happened to me before, I never thought I had it. So for an entire 6 months, I didn't know I was going through postpartum. My partner was also not sure what was going on. He just knew that I was not okay. But at the same time, when I show up in church, it's like I look fine, but when I go home, it's like I'm not fine. It's such a confusing place to be.
Yeah.
And just appreciating people who can even come to you and ask you, so what are you struggling with? Can I pray for you? Or just praying in private can really help. And I think for me, what got me through was God, because
Yeah.
after the baby turned exactly 6 months, I felt literally a veil being removed from my face, and that's the day I knew I was not okay. And after that day, I started loving this child differently, other than feeling like just the food and the provider and the protector and everything. But now I started seeing her for who she was. Yeah, so please, moms, pray for your fellow moms, and partners, if your wife is going through the same thing, just be present and be very aware of those cues,
Yeah.
and ask for help. Yeah, don't make any assumption that they'll snap out of it. Some people don't snap out of it. So ask for help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I hear you, because I had the same feeling when I think Nuru turned 8 or 9 months old. I just woke up one day and I had energy. And having the energy told me the thing I was living the past couple of months was not me. So I was just like, wait, was I not okay and I didn't even know it? Like I was so deep in being a mom that I didn't realize I'm not at my normal energy levels. Like I then realized I'd come to church, but I wouldn't want to have small talk. I just don't have the energy. I wouldn't even be sitting here doing this. I wouldn't have the mental capacity to convert thoughts into conversation. And so I was just like, wow, sometimes you're going through something and you don't even know it. You're just assuming, but this is what it looks like, guys.
This is
See, moms are
motherhood.
tired and small talk is hard and things like that. And so I think a thing I found that has been really helpful for me is that my partner has adjusted to the season we're in. And I think we've found a really nice rhythm that an uncle of mine threatened to destroy. And he was like, he was basically saying there is gender roles. And
know
and,
those
and
kind of
I know.
Touched a live
And it's
wire.
because we were at a family gathering. A cousin of us had passed away, but it was now family was all there. And because we were sitting like with my cousins, and Nuru was sleepy, so Mike took her to walk her to sleep. And I think he watched that and he was like, "Hey, how is it the father is the one putting the child to sleep?" And he was trying to ask questions to dig and be like, when the baby cries at night, who wakes up? and Mike wasn't helping because he was hesitating to think for, both of us. I'm like, no, it's me. I wake up. But I think finding that my partner has shared gender roles, and if the laundry needs to be put in the wash, he puts it in the wash. It's hanged. If the baby needs to be bathed, whoever. We've not assigned it to anyone. It's as the day comes, will you wash her today? Cool, wash her, I'll dress her. And so him being willing to partner with me in that thing, even though he kept on working, like still has really helped, because then I have moments where I can say, can you please do this thing that ordinarily me as the mom, I should be doing it, but I need 15 minutes. I need 15 minutes. And so I found that, I guess, when your partner is willing to step out of the box of what society has said is their role in parenting, then it's very helpful for moms. Yeah.
Definitely. I would say friends, especially for new moms. I had my child out of the country, and so I didn't have aunties, I didn't have mothers around, and I didn't have a house help. Boy, I tell you. So having friends coming to visit was my lifeline. It was a bit difficult because they didn't come as often, but I didn't know. You know, you
Yeah.
don't even really know how often you'd like them to come. And it's not that I need them to help me clean the house. I just want another adult to talk to. I want somebody else to hold the baby. So having friends who will be cognizant of that.
Yeah.
But if your friends don't have children, imagine, don't take it personally.
Yeah.
That's, you know,
There are a few things they don't
all
know.
of those friends, when they had children, because I was the first one in my lot to have a child, they
Yeah.
were all like, what, Chichi? You mean it was like this? Aki would have visited you more, we would have this. And I'm like, it's so cool, you know. Now pay it forward.
Yeah.
And you just go visit the moms, even if they're not your very close friends, you know how it is. So go shikilia mtoto like this and just give her a bit of time.
Yeah.
So friends they're a lifeline. Partners are a lifeline.
Yeah.
Especially if he's not taking on the gender role thing.
Yeah.
And I think with men, it can be very hard in this society, whereby he thinks, you know, he's happy to hold the baby, he's happy to change nappies until an uncle or a father makes a comment. And it happened to my friend, and her husband never changed the baby again. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Can you imagine? That story is for 83 minutes, but you know,
I know.
it's one of those ones. So having a partner was when the child was young. I would say now to another level, because I had my child when I was married, and then my marriage fell apart, and then I began to continue parenting as a single parent, and so I had my child, I think, from the age of about 3.5,
Okay.
and I was on my own until now she's a teenager.
Okay.
Now I have a partner, but then he did not come into her life when she was young. So my daughter is very independent of him, and she's not looking for a father figure or anything. So he doesn't come in the parenting role. Maybe he comes in when he's like, Chichi, just chill out.
Yeah.
Leave the teenager. I'm like, no, leave me, you know. But anyway, back to her being on the younger side. I have friends, and there were very few, I can count them on 2 fingers, not even 1 hand. Those 2 friends, and it was not family, who seemed to see, you don't know how lonely and frustrating it can be for someone parenting alone. Number one, you're judged by the society. You almost want to say, imagine I was married, and imagine, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter what the reason is, how the baby came out. It doesn't matter. You are lonely on another level.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
Sunday like this, after church, people are going. You see, we are seeing families going out there. They will go in their cars and go where they are going. You people, you will go, where are you going? Where are you going? Where, you know, hey, your family. Oh, bye, yeah, Chichi, bye. I'm left with my daughter. I don't know where we are going. We have no one who has invited us. My parents don't live in the city. You know, my brothers at that point, one still does not have a family. So you're talking about a lot of single siblings. So you're alone. It is family time. And you're there with your child. And you're there with her on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. On top of that, you probably also have financial struggles. And you're there alone. Let me tell you, those friends, the day they told me, Chichi, come. They invited me for family birthdays, family lunches. And you can see it is family. Because they are there. On the guy's side, it's his family. On her side, it's her family. They are no friends. But then they just decided, we are going to jipox Chichi into this situation and have her there. Bless them. Those friends to my dying day. Those days were so hard. So friends who will step in and bring you in as family,
Yeah.
those people are lifelines. If you can be that to someone, then please do. And not just say, you know, it's kind of like our family thing. If you have a friend who's close enough, jipox her into this family thing. It can be very hard. So those friends, and there were few, there were many Sundays.
Yeah.
We went back home, ate leftover food, because I don't want to cook on Sunday or whatever, and I'm trying to figure out what to do with my child.
Yeah.
And you just feel so inadequate. It was hard.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think you've taught me and challenged me today.
Right.
I think I've been very ignorant of the plight of single parents and And as we are walking off with our and moms, and moms, and as we are walking away with our huge family going to eat a meal and so on and so forth. Just knowing that that's the way we can support people. Challenge accepted.
You might never
Challenge
show
accepted.
it. You may never, you'll just be smiling there with your
In
nice
fact,
lipstick.
you look stronger.
Yeah, in fact, you know,
Truly,
you just smile.
you look
you're-
very
You
put
got it all
together.
figured out.
Yeah.
And you don't have it figured out. You're just like, I hated Sundays. After service, I hated Sundays. Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Those were like one of my worst days for a number of years, because it just reminded me how the family I wanted is not the family
not
I
there.
have. I thought I was going to remain married. I thought I'd have more children. I have a big table that I bought, that I have an 8-seater, because I knew I'd have many children, then my husband, and then, you know, guests and everything. You're there, 2 of you. 2.
Wow.
Okay. Challenge accepted.
Yeah, and I think it's a good challenge to our community,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Because it can be very easy to come to church, say hi, how are you? And of course, the hi at that moment, I'm not going to be like, I'm not fine.
No,
Actually,
never.
I feel a bit depressed.
No,
It's
no,
very,
never,
it's
yeah.
very, if we're honest, it's very surface level, right? And so being very intentional to invite people to table, because that's one of our values as Renewal Church, is that when we meet, we eat. But am I intentional with the people around me, with my community, to make room within the week to say, come, let's share a meal. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. It's literally what I have. That's what we are eating. But just to get to know, how is Martha doing now that her kids are growing up and they'll soon be leaving the house? And how is Esther doing with 2 kids? And, you know, even knowing that they were 2 under 2, and that for sure is a stressful season. Or how is Chichi doing now that they, you know, you have a new family that you're trying to blend together? How's that going? And just to be intentional to see people where they're at, and not to just be content with the wash and repeat of Sunday. Hi, always sing in the worship team together. Oh my God, you look so pretty today. Yay! And then bye. And then you're shocked when, you know, you hear something deep and difficult that someone is going through. And this conversation clearly can go on for hours, because we've barely touched on multiple things. But I think we can...
Sorry.
you want to say something?
Just on the community. It's just
Yes.
an encouragement to actually join community, because sometimes it's one thing to ask people how they're doing, but it's another thing when you're in an intimate community, finding people who you can actually reach out to.
You mean a
So
community
in
group?
a community, so like in community group, where, like I feel okay to tell them things are thick, guys, because I have a group of 10, 15, however many people are in the community group, who I know who have my back. And so join community groups. Make sure that you're not alone in this journey. Because like, in as much as I'd love to have that discernment of finding out if you're okay, I don't think I have that, because you're running after this child, you're running after that child, and you forget to ask. But if you are in community with Chichi, then you know, yes, this is what needs to happen.
Yeah. And I think we had a Mother's Day thing sometime in the year earlier. And the thought was, even for some moms, it's really hard to make it to community group. So, because, for example, for me, I'm a stay-at-home mom and we don't have a live-in nanny. So that means during the week, and our community group is like 6 to 10. I mean, me, I've taken my child to community group.
Go for it.
I always take my kids.
Right. But I hear how, I mean, I see how a mom could be unable to make it to community group. And then another thing, in our community group, we're the only parents. In fact, we're not the only parents. We were joined by another one. But even just like acknowledging the people I'm in community with do not understand my challenges at all. And so I have to actively seek out people who are in my life stage. And that may not be the people I'm surrounded by, but for sure, community group is a great bare minimum. Please start there. It's an easy entry. It will be easy to connect with people. So moms, if you're listening and you're not in a community group, please plug into one. I want us to finish with, what is a truth that God has told you that has shifted how you show up as a mom? That's our parting shot. A truth that has shifted how you show up as a mom. Of course, as a result of your relationship with God and walking that journey with Him.
I think I already mentioned mine, so mine will be very, very quick. It's just the fact that they're individuals and they're not me. And that has really, really affected. It's something that I'm transitioning into right now, of trying to allow that the person they are and the person that they're becoming to prosper, basically. And so now for me to take on a supportive role versus I don't know, parenting role. But it's different parenting, I guess. But now in this stage, I'm feeling like it's just allowing them to be who they are and be their biggest cheerleader, be their biggest supporter, and just respect, as I said, my experience before, respect that person who they're becoming. Yeah.
For me, it is the fact that my child is watching me. And her path in life is really set by who I am, how I do my life. Not to say that it is sealed. So for those who come from families where their parent was not a good example, but for me, what God has shown me is chichi. You know, the way in the Bible we are told, look at Jesus' life. In fact, many times as Christians we say, it's not really me, but let's look at Jesus because that's a perfect example.
Yeah.
So as Jesus is that example, I am this example to my child, especially when she's very young. Actually, not even when she's very young. Trust me, even at this age where she's a teenager, almost 17, she's watching me.
Yeah.
Even unconsciously watching me and sometimes consciously watching. But when they're very young, truly there's a lot of unconscious watching. And what you do, how you behave with other people, how you talk, how you run your life is exactly what they are going to be. And I'm seeing that in my child today.
Yeah.
The good sides about me, I'm like, yeah, that's me. You know, and then the other sides, I'm
job.
like, I don't know who raised this child. Because it's showing, you know, that where there's lack of discipline, where there's this, any place that I'm failing, oh, it's popping up in this child. Then I'm like, oh, and then you realize it's you. So it's that thing of, I am the example. That's the thing that God has really put in my heart. You are the example. Chichi, go and be a good example to this child of mine also, because God has no grandchildren, but I am that first step. And how will God understand, how will my child understand God as a father or as a parent if I am such a hopeless parent? You know, so that has really been in me, that God has given me this ability, and He's there. If I ask for help, if I seek Him, you know, then God is going to help me to be a good parent. And that is that step for my child. Also, when she has her own personal relationship with God, you know, it'll be grounded on this God of my mother. You know, where I saw my mother's life, her hardships, her good times, and how she maneuvered that. That God of my mother is the God that I serve.
Sorry, but just to build on that a little bit, is not to just show what we want them to see, but to show our
Weaknesses as
everything.
Everything, because
To show
she's
them
watching
everything,
the
exactly.
everything. You know, there's no hiding to the child. She's seeing the good, the bad, the ugly, but it's everything, how you're maneuvering the difficult times, the good times, even when you fail, like how do you come back from the failure? How do you come back from falling flat on your face?
Because that's how they learn.
Wow.
I think it's how big a sinner I am, especially by looking at my son. As in, it's so clear, do not do this. And immediately he looks at you
And
and
does the
does
very
it,
same
looking
thing.
at you. So there are times when I'm just like, dude, I've just told you a minute ago. Like, don't jump, you're gonna fall. He looks at you, he jumps, he falls. I'm like, so every time I think I get to that point, I'm like, God, I'm sorry for the many things you've told me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like throwing my hands. So I think I see myself as how we are sinners saved by grace. And I'm like, I'm so glad God does not get exhausted by us, because
Yeah.
kids can be so exhausting. And you're like, how many times do you need a chapa to remember? And I'm like, God, thank you that you are so gracious to us. So it's hard to be gracious, but I think the constant reminder that God expects you to be just as gracious to this child as he is to you. So there's that. And also in relation to that, it's how you're preparing this child for eternity.
Yeah.
And as a parent, you have been given the role to be a steward, to prepare this child for eternity. And by the time, like right now, he's still pretty young. So I'm trying to put in as much Jesus knowledge as he can get in his head, so that by the time he's older, then he'll have a chance to make that decision for himself. And my prayer is that he'll be able to choose God. Because the world, there are so many voices around him. So I think taking the role of stewardship really seriously and trying to keep being that voice that will help him to reason even when he grows older, is what is one of the truths that I pray that we shall be able to do it well. Because yes, we are not God. And yes, even knowing that you're not God is a big deal, because you'll try and get things to be done perfectly. Like when we're coming on a Sunday, I'm like, you have to match with your mom. We have to look the part. Don't get dirty. But my child is such an adventurer. He will go, like last Sunday, he just went, found a puddle of water and just fell on it. And I'm like, dude, this is not how the plan was. So I
Yeah.
think to constantly remind myself, I'm not God, but I will try my best to do my part and help this child to grow up loving God, loving people, and at the end of the day, praying that our efforts will not be in vain. So that's what I've been thinking lots about.
Esther.
But you?
I feel like you guys have said so many deep things.
It's
And
okay.
I'm trying to figure out what my lesson has been or what God has taught me. I think for me, recently it's been God is teaching me how to enjoy life through the eyes of my children. Because I've grown with such a strict upbringing and I've brought it to my house. And so,
You, Esther, you're strict.
I can imagine I'm strict.
She's here laughing with us and not in the house.
God has had to redeem me from. Yeah, Joseph is
Joseph is
the
the
very
fun parent.
free. Yeah, he's had to tell me, he has had to remind me, these are kids. Let them get dirty. I'm constantly worried about the house is not organized. I want to live as though I don't have kids, but I have kids. So for me, it's God telling me, Esther, you've been so strict with yourself in your life. Learn to enjoy life. Let the kids play. Let them enjoy life. And I want you to learn how to enjoy life. So let them live out their full expression of who they are, what they're meant to be, and also learn to do that for yourself.
Yeah.
So I'm at that place, so I'm learning it for myself, and I'm learning to allow my kids to fully express whatever thing God has put in their heart to the fullest, without me limiting it, but trying to also direct them in the right way to do it.
Yeah. Wow.
Take it easy.
And mine would be, I think I've just come to see when God says, I'm a father, what it looks like. And he really has been like, just look at your daughter. Sleeps without a care. Eats without a care about what she'll eat again. Wears clothes that she doesn't know where they came from. Doesn't ask a question about them. But, and they know you and they love you and they enjoy you and they play with you. And when they're tired, they cry. And then he's like, so if I tell you I'm your father, why do you show up in another way? Why do you show up like, what will I eat? What will I wear? What will I drink? Where will I lay my head? How will this go? And he's like, can you really just be like this child? So I think as I'm watching this child, that statement when Jesus was like, you know, the kingdom is for such as this, I'm constantly looking at what I should be like.
I thought about that today morning,
Yeah.
and it wasn't a good picture in my head
I
because
know.
it was chaos. I was like, is this what Jesus was trying to tell us to be? Like these children who are chaotic?
Yes.
No,
But
how
because it's more to do with the trusting.
Yeah. But
I get what
we
you
are
mean.
chaotic, just in the wrong ways. You know, the chaos inside your head and your heart is not chaos that is bringing you life or joy or that's sincere, or that is trusting that God is seeing you and cares for you. In fact, it's that you don't trust that he sees and cares for you and is on top of things. So I feel like this chaos the kids have, and they're throwing themselves in the puddle, them they don't care about pneumonia or whatever. What is that, you know? So he's like, imagine if you went about life believing me the way this child has just been born and believes their mommy is on top of everything. How much more would you, enjoy life? Yeah. And that,
But even on the flip side is when we have sinned and feel like we're so far away from God.
yeah.
Like, as we're parenting and being parents, we know that there's nothing our child can do that will stop them from being our child.
Right.
We live and visit them in jail if it gets to that.
Yeah.
We will
You'll
do
be like,
everything.
face
They'll
the
still be our
consequences, but I'm there.
child.
Yeah.
And so how much more the Heavenly Father who has told
Right.
us that I am your Heavenly Father. Like there's nothing that you could possibly do that will separate his love from you, you know? So
Yeah.
I think that's such a beautiful truth.
That just sounds like an altar call if you're there.
Is the M-Pesa number passing? These are not. Sorry, guys. Sorry, wrong church. Sorry.
Yeah, and you know you need to go back to the Father.
Wow.
This
Go
is the
for it,
time.
Kibali.
No, not even that. You don't even need to go back
There's
to the
no
Father.
going back.
He's
ready.
already
He's there.
there. He's
Yeah.
already there.
He's ready.
As a parent would never disown and neglect their child.
Yes.
He's still there. He's just waiting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is your chance.
And I think then we can close with that as our prayer, that for all our mommies and daddies, that even as they're going through this season of parenting, that it is a true reminder of our Heavenly Father and our journey of being parented by him, right? Even as we grow into his Son, Jesus Christ, the image that he has already lived out for us, as we grow into that maturity and that wisdom and that stature, that we would constantly remember how loved we are by the Father and how available he is, how present he is, and how much care he has for us, that we can live life from a life of abundance, right? A place of abundance. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, ladies.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
God
you,
bless you.
Jojo.
Bye.
Thanks for having us.